So just a heads up, we might be live. I don't know if Wesley has hit the button yet. So, oh yeah, he has. Okay, so we are streaming. It sounds like. I'm gonna let you guys go. I just realized that I didn't have the link up, so I need to do that to be able to see the chat to help answer questions and stuff. So, hey there, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to check out the live stream. We've got Hannah and Eric. Who from Cyan, who I'll let them kind of introduce themselves, and Edward, one of our environment artists. So awesome. We're gonna play a little Myst mini golf. So I actually need to just do one more thing to help set up for the stream here. But if you guys maybe want, I'll take off my headset for just a second. But if you guys maybe want to just chat a little bit about who you are, what you do, roles, anything. I'll be back in just like 60 seconds.
Hannah, you want to get us started?
I was going to say you should. You do it.
Sure. I'm Eric. I work at Cyan. I'm the creative director there, and this is super cool. Go ahead, Hannah.
I'm Hannah Gamiel. I'm the development director at Cyan, and this is super cool.
This is like Myst Island is like second home. We both spent so much time here that being in the mini golf version of it is like this weird, super familiar, but also not quite the same experience. And I love it because it's somebody else's take on this place.
Yeah, so much time over decades, even, which is pretty wild. So yeah.
I'm Edward. I am one of the environment artists and part of the modeling team here at Walkabout, and acted as the local Myst historian, Mystorium, if you will. Which meant that I got the really fun thing that every time someone had a fun idea and we didn't want to bother you guys, it first went to me and went, "How terrible is this?" And I'd go, pretty terrible. Put it in.
Naturally.
Like you do. That's awesome.
I'm excited today to be playing with my Myst ball that I found on the fox hunt on this island. So, did you pick your Myst ball, Eric?
No, I haven't found a bunch of stuff yet. I've played through the course a couple times, and I'm not super great at it, but I haven't unlocked like the hard course yet. So that tells you how bad I am at this. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We would have locked it up even for the development build for you guys now that you're on the store version. So yeah, now you gotta earn your way back in.
Honestly, right.
Listen, I beat the hard course last night at plus 17, so you could say I'm a big deal.
Just gonna bow here, genuflect. So that's you've honestly gotten a better score than quite a bit of the modeling team. There, every time we need to see something's every time we need to see something stable, we get someone like me or Emma to try. We're both quite famously bad at a game that we spend at least an hour in every day.
Yeah, the hard course is quite hard, but fun.
And beautiful.
Yes.
Well, guys, I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and let's start playing some mini golf. I'm still setting up one little thing on my end here, but I'll be able to do this. We might, it might be just a second before I'm able to grab questions from everybody, but it's coming. I'm just trying to get to the right link.
While he's setting up, this is Lucas. He created the game originally as a lockdown project and has brought on a huge team of wonderfully talented and really nice, super cool people.
Good job, Lucas.
Good job.
I'd bow to him, but don't want to get that head too big.
Well, and this is really what indie VR development is. I'm on the floor with my laptop trying to get the YouTube link because my Wi-Fi signal in my office is weak, and just it's sort of like this is work from home. This is just sort of like all of the cutting edge VR development is sort of like, it's funny how a lot of it is just like plugging in wires and blowing on stuff. It's just like the Nintendo cartridge days all over again.
I think Hannah and I are both at home now as well in our development space, like making it work because that's what you got to do.
My dog is
awesome.
like 3 feet away from me, so yep.
Don't step on Ripley.
Oh no, she won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's. Yeah, I'm seeing some questions. Oh, it's working just fine. There we go.
Awesome.
Oh, they're moving over to the Twitter channel. Here, I'll just say this. David and Wesley, if you guys want to send me the proper link, because I was trying to get the chat was the main thing, so that I can send questions through, and I see that the YouTube is having some issues there. So I could see it. We're live. It's all working. It's just that, yeah, I'm not able to get the chat, so just Slack me. So, awesome. Well, let's play some mini golf. We can... like I said, we are streaming. It'll just be a second before I can get all the chat stuff. So,
Hannah just took
maybe
the greatest shot. So you got to replay that.
That's true. Oh yeah, here we go. This is my hole in one that I just
so it
did.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hannah just came in ready to slay. Just sort of like, no,
That's
no,
right.
I'm going to embarrass all of the people who actually make the mini golf game.
Oh, no hole in one there.
I have to say, it has been
lost
super...
your art director title.
I have to say, it has been super fun to watch people's reactions, especially... I mean, two could play that game. But it's been so fun watching people's reactions because just like the switch mechanic, like I'm really glad that especially Henning Koczy, our lead level designer, really sort of like figured it out and really sort of like got it working in a very nice sort of like easy to wrap your head around way. But there was still, we've never done anything like this. It has been so interesting to watch people figuring it out and watching people start to get their head into like mini golf puzzle mode. So yeah, I am really, really glad with how that happened. I'm curious to sort of get your guys' take on just sort of... We've talked a little bit about when we first kind of approached you guys about doing it, but I'd love to hear a bit more about sort of like just your reactions to when you actually got a chance to hop into the course for the first time. What kind of struck you? What was interesting? What was different that you weren't maybe expecting?
One of the first things that struck me was the music, honestly. I feel like it's pretty hard to make a track that sounds like something without it just being a complete copy of it. And the composer for the Walkabout course here did an excellent job emulating the themes from Myst without actually playing any themes. So huge kudos to the composer. That was just the first thing I noticed. Everything else was equally awesome, though.
Yeah,
And you know, I'm remembering that was
was
a bit of a challenge too, just because normally Myst doesn't have background music throughout the entire thing. It happens at events, but it's mostly atmosphere. It's more. So yeah. Sorry, I stepped
For
on
me,
your...
the visuals obviously are the part that I was immediately like, ooh, what's going on here? And it's so funny because, you know, we sent you guys reference models, and so I wasn't sure if whether it was just going to be literally the same models dropped in, you know, retextured. But no, you put your own spin on it and your own feel, and it has its own cohesive vibe, and it works really well. Just super impressed with how much of the feeling you guys were able to retain.
Oh, you.
Yeah, it helped having Edward and there's a few people on the team who've played Myst multiple times. But yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, Edward, you were fantastic at just sort of pretty much any little Easter eggs that are just hidden about. That was pretty much you, I think, Edward.
Normally, on a level, I've got a bit of a running joke where I like to hide a dead body somewhere because I think it's hilarious. Thought maybe not appropriate, so I've tried to hide as many references to the Cyan library as possible.
I mean, we do have a grave. over there, so a dead body maybe would have been appropriate. I don't know.
I beat you to it. Put a dead body buried in the ground right over there.
Yeah.
Let's go dig. Let's go dig her up. Let's see what's under there.
So we're getting a couple of questions starting to come through here, but I'll hit one more while we're waiting for the queue to fill up. I'm curious what you guys are working on right now as well, because I know are you guys pretty much 100% on Firmament, or you also just announced? I don't want to say it. Yeah, you guys have officially announced the Riven.
Oh yeah, it's official now. Yeah, Hannah, do you want to tackle that one in terms of the workload, the split projects, or you want me to jump?
Yes. Sorry, one moment. I'm flipping marker switches. I'll be right back up. Okay.
She's busy solving puzzles.
You've got to, yeah.
So yes, we are wrapping up Firmament right now, which is super exciting. And we do still have some team members working on the next iteration of Riven, which is extremely exciting too. So we do have a somewhat split team, but the majority of the team has been wrapping up Firmament for a while now, which is very exciting, very cool. Can't wait to get people in that game. So yeah.
Yeah.
We just did a talk about with Rand that I don't know if that has dropped yet, but it will keep an eye out because it will soon. But yeah, he was talking just a little bit, no spoilers or anything, but yeah, just sort of like that one's a super fun one that I can't wait to see what you guys do with that one.
With which one? With Riven or with Firmament?
Oh well, with both of them. But yeah, he was specifically talking a little bit about Firmament just because on the creative side, that one is sort of like the most. Yeah, you guys are getting close to being done with that one. Although you don't have a release date yet, do you?
Mm-hmm. No, not an announced one, but Q1
just sort of
2023.
Cool.
We're getting close though.
And is the plan for Riven? Is it going to be kind of similar to what you did with the Myst VR? That'll be like both Pancake and VR. Is it kind of the same idea?
I guess people will have to wait and see to find out.
Okay.
I'm letting Hannah answer that one.
Artful dodge.
I'm certain one can only speculate that there's a pattern we're following with our games. I think we'd feel comfortable saying that. So
yeah.
Okay.
The cagiest of answers,
nice.
But yeah, if you played Myst and you liked Myst, there's a high likelihood that you will probably like Riven as well.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's great. I'm also I've been doing a lot of artful dodging whenever people ask about upcoming courses and all that, just because it's really, we don't always know exactly what's going to happen, but yeah, it's sort of like when you're in development, you really need time. Sometimes things take longer than you think. Sometimes things change. Sometimes new platforms come out, and you don't want to sort of be on the hook for doing something that you committed to years and years ago.
Right. So when's the Riven walkabout course coming out, Lucas?
Thanks for the We've had a couple of people ask about it. A couple of people even commented. The box art even almost looks like you could just turn that into a golf ball, and that's the there you go.
Why not?
It sells itself.
Gonna be honest, that's mostly me asking. I've just been making different Twitter accounts.
Somebody on Twitter the other day made that comment, and I replied like, yeah, we've already talked about it. This is not a joke, and it's not. Like, we've certainly talked about like, hey, how can we get the Walkabout guys to do what they do with this game too? So, oh, I just screwed that up. I tapped the ball.
It's alright. It gives you extra time to look for hidden balls on the course.
Oh.
There's a hidden ball for every hole.
I actually had a really hard time finding the hidden balls on this course. It's impressively hard.
They're normally not this difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did go
I think
top.
You hid most of those, didn't you, Edward?
I totally did.
Yeah.
I feel like good design is when every time you hide something, you laugh like a person who should leave the house more often.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I did it again. I'm just terrible at golf today, you guys. It's all right. Good thing there's a stroke limit.
Well, and we need Henning just popped in, and I saw him take his first stroke. So, Henning, do you want to give a little intro to yourself for everybody on the stream?
I am the head level designer on Walkabout. Also a huge Myst fan, so this was a dream come true for me. Hi, happy to be here. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah.
Hi Hannah, hi Eric. Good to see you again. That was
Hello. Whoa.
That was me on your Twitter.
Yeah, went a little
Eric.
too hard.
We do have one of the first questions from the stream here. There is a question: why is there a dead body in the bottom of Sweetopia? Edward, do you wanna?
I mean, people, always making jokes, talking about, oh, how do you hide a body, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm really innovating by doing it virtually. I'd like to think of myself as the first hidden corpse in the metaverse.
We did actually have sort of an internal sort of like joke with that one. I think that was the first, because we had a couple that were just sort of like set deck. And then there was a skeleton that got put into Sweetopia. If you fly down, you can find it. It's pretty well known at this point, so I'm not really spoiling too much.
Ooh.
But we did sort of have an internal sort of like almost half joke, because there were a bunch of railings that are in Sweetopia that just don't really work. They're just conveniently placed at like tripping height. And so there was sort of an internal joke that like maybe that person was actually just the health and safety inspector trying to inspect the railings and fell, or was, there's a little darkness to Sweetopia, but
Wow.
But yeah, now now it seems like every time a new course comes out, that's always one of the questions is where's the body. So I don't know if that's necessarily what the vibe that we are going for with this game, but hey, it's great that everyone wants to find the darkness.
I always say that in order to make a world interesting, you have to fill it with OSHA violations. You have to take the railings off here and there. So
That's why Star Wars was so successful. I've always wondered.
There's a lot of the Death Star platforms over the abyss that don't really should at least have sort of like a caution sign or something.
True.
Death Star didn't have a big railing budget. Yeah.
We've got another question on the stream here, just asking how to get involved in mostly VR development. Eric or Hannah, do you guys have any tips for folks who are wanting to get into to VR development?
That's a big one. I feel like. Go ahead, Hannah.
No, you go. You were gonna say something.
Okay, I was gonna say I feel like VR development is like hard mode game development. It's first get competent and fluent in like regular game development, and then maybe make the jump to VR, because there's so many things you need to be conscious of and aware of and prioritize that it's so different in VR. Perf and comfortability and accessibility. There's just so many things. Yeah. In terms of getting started, Hannah, do you have any? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was also just going to throw out.
Go ahead.
Sorry, there's a delay. I'll
worries.
go. I was just going to say, especially if you're interested in the art side of it, I would highly recommend Gravity Sketch. We use that as one of the tools. We've got a couple of videos on our YouTube channel as well. It's just sort of like how we're using Gravity Sketch. If you're wanting to get into VR and just really quickly get up and going, that's a great way to just yes, eventually you do need to learn Blender or Maya or another DCC or something, but as a starting point to just start making 3D art, that's a really good place to start. But sorry for stepping on you, Hannah.
No worries. I was gonna echo everything everyone has just said. Especially Eric saying there are so many extra things that you need to be considerate of that might mean you have to dive a little bit more into the technical details, really, if you're going to do VR development. So,
And just also one of the things I know a lot of people always sort of worry a lot about the engines. That's always the thing that splits people up. I know we're using Unity. I think you guys are using Unreal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it really doesn't make that big of a difference, especially when you're first starting out. Focus on whatever sort of you're most comfortable with, or what's most accessible. Just just get going, get in there, because so many of the skills transfer between the two. So that's always a thing that seems to hang people up. And there's like it is something that eventually, when you're doing a larger game, it's a decision that comes into play. But as you're learning, there's no reason to necessarily choose one over the other or any bad decision there.
I'd like to add that the best thing you can do is just make stuff. The best way to learn is by doing, and especially game development, just make something small, get it done, put it down, have it finished, and just and then do it again and again, and make things that you really enjoy making, but really practice getting it done and getting it out the door and getting it not necessarily published or anything, but just in your heart being like, yeah, it's done and I'm happy with where it's at.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree with that advice. That's the best advice for game developers in general. I think people get fixated on making something perfect, and that's the enemy of, what's the saying? Perfect is the enemy of good. It's true.
Yeah. And well, that worked out.
Oh,
there's also just a lot that happens.
Yeah.
There's also just a lot that happens that so much of people, how do I put this? People often think about like the really visual or obvious parts of development, like the gameplay loop and the, just making, getting the art looking good and a few of those more obvious things, but there is a massive, massive amount of work that has to happen in that, getting something so that other people on different systems can play it, even if it's on App Lab or even if it's just on like Itch or something that you can distribute for free. But yeah, that going through that step to actually make it, like that opens up so many things, and you get so much information that comes from people's reactions, and some of the things that you might have thought are going to be the, are the coolest things ever might not really resonate with players. So it's really, really good to get in front of people, and even if it's just for playtesting or just for learning, I would say. So, yeah. We've got a couple other questions coming through from the live stream here. There's a request to make a way to restart your round if you start out poorly, without having to go back to the main menu. We are working on a bunch of new features and different things that will hopefully help make some of that stuff a little bit more smooth. At the same time, we also part of the reason that we didn't do that was to sort of discourage people from rage quitting or discouraging people from just like, if you have a bad hole or two, like that's fine. That's golf. You got to keep going. It's tournament rules. It's very hardcore on that front. But yeah, we are going to be adding some options. No idea exactly sort of when those are going to be dropping, but we're actively working on a few of those things right now.
Sorry, Lucas, I'm not laughing at you. I just love that we're the hardcore mini golf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Take this seriously. Myst is serious. Walkabout is serious.
Yeah.
So serious.
No, especially this course. This of all of the mini golf courses, this one needs to be just
frivolous little balls.
Wow.
Here's another good question, but probably for maybe Henning can take this one. How is the par decided? Henning, do you want to grab that one?
Usually, whatever I can do plus one.
Like the best you can do plus one?
No, what I consistently do. I start out mapping out the ideal path through a hole, a green. Like where would the ideal putt lead you, and then leave you, and then plus one at the end for easy anyway.
I have a question for all of you guys.
Go for it.
Which is, did you guys prior to joining the company play a lot of mini golf in real life, and do you nowadays, or is it all virtual golf these days?
That's a good question. I mean, I played a decent bit as a kid, and I've taken my kids mini golfing a couple of times, but not extensively. We've definitely done a couple of like team outings to different courses around the area, but I wouldn't say that it's extensive. It's also kind of funny how, I mean, it is very much like real mini golf, but it is like just the imperfections that happen when you've got little sticks and little imperfections on the carpet and all that sort of stuff. So there's a a decent bit of difference. And so, to be honest, I guess I haven't extensively played a ton, but yeah, I definitely played a lot as a kid.
Ultimately, the question I really wanted to ask was has working on this day in day out made you a better actual mini golfer, or if the skills don't translate one to one?
No.
I think that I don't know that if I had been rated, then I might be able to give you an actual sort of like, oh yeah, this improved my, drop my handicap down or something like that. But yeah, I guess I'd never, even when I think we as a company have gone to play mini golf courses, I don't know that we've ever really kept score. So
is there a professional level of mini golfer? Is there like a world class like mini golf? Really?
Yeah, we know a bunch of those guys. I mean, it's probably more of like a pro-am sort of situation, but there are cash prizes for tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
We know they exist, and we've been on their podcasts, and I really want to pick their brain some more.
I think the caveat for your question is, if you are decent at the game, has real life mini golf improved?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Because I am atrocious at this game and real life mini golf. So that's how I know it's really realistic.
I play real life golf, although I haven't gone for actually a couple of years, probably pre-pandemic, just because I've been busy with life and kids and everything. I actually wonder if my putting skills would have improved or possibly gotten worse, just because I've gotten used to very flat, very even carpeted greens as opposed to big golf.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to go out at some
golf
point.
Clubs way too much.
And there's all this walking.
Is exactly one Quest controller's worth of weight.
I feel like the real golf clubs give you a little bit of built-in stability that the Quest controllers don't. You have sort of an inherent. It's too easy to get too much power going. That's how I've felt playing it, but.
Kind of works like it's.
Are you telling me you don't move your controller at this your
like
golf club
this?
at this speed normally?
Yeah. So it looks like a tracking error. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love going to the driving range and you don't even have to take a full swing. You just whack.
Yeah.
Whack.
It's the Wii Sports of real sports.
Can you tell who plays mini golf more? Definitely the Cyan people. I mean, we're killing it on this hole.
all the time.
It's okay.
This is
When you
travesty.
release Firmament, we expect to be invited for a multiplayer race through Firmament against you guys, and we can't imagine you'll beat us.
Well, we'll have CVAR dev commands we can use that we won't share with you guys, so it's gonna be cheating all around.
That's
that
true.
day.
I actually feel like we need to
build
add
in
some dev
multiplayer.
commands
There's a
just so
switch
that
for
we
that.
can that we could just give some secret way that if someone is beating us, you can just it's like give the ball a nudge in a random direction, just blowing on the ball or something would be kind of cool.
Just make it roll crooked just for certain. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, just tweak the gravity for him a little bit. Could be kind of cool.
Oh, it's neat.
We've got a couple of other questions here. Here's one. Is it physically possible to get a hole-in-one on either Myst course on hole 18? Henning, I think it is. I know I've gotten easy.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely on easy. I think theoretically then hard too. It's just more of them.
Yeah. I think that we
shot.
did. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that because 18 was actually the one that kind of adjusted the most. We tried a bunch of different things with that, and it just needed to feel cool and big, but also at the same time, not. It's a lot of fun when, especially just lighting up all of those switches, but it's also something that happens in development. You get a lot of you start to play a hole so many times that you kind of forget what makes it fun. And I think that that's always something that we struggle with whenever we start doing multiple versions of something, or you just kind of start to forget, like, oh wait, this was actually really fun the first time we came to it, and you kind of need to remember that sometimes and hold on to it. Because that was one where I felt like the initial version of it worked great, and then we just sort of went back and forth so many times, and finally we had to remember that and kind of go back to it. I'd imagine that's probably a similar thing that you guys get with puzzles, because so much of it is not knowing the solution. Do you guys have any tricks for designing puzzles, or how you go about that? Kind of tell what works and what doesn't.
Honestly, for us, it's a lot of playtesting, because your internal assumptions are usually wrong. We find, like, whenever you get led down a path where you're like, oh well, the player will be thinking this or feeling this, like that's a dangerous assumption to make, and it's always better to have, whether it be QA or friends and family testers, to kind of give it a spin and then give us feedback based on that experience. So I guess the answer is don't trust your instinct. Get it confirmed with other people. Yeah.
I definitely feel like that's been something with mini golf. Like, we still need to do a pretty extensive QA, but it's really nice having a game mechanic that is a bit more contained, and the fact that, like, we don't have to worry about someone doing something in the wrong order. Like, it's just each hole is sort of its own little chapter, and you want to make each hole interesting, and you want to string them together in a pleasing way, but it does feel like a format that just sort of, like, really, it simplifies a few things.
I've gotta go, guys.
Okay. Thanks for dropping by, Henning.
Bye, Henning.
Bye, Henning. Good to see you.
Bye. Thanks for dropping in, guys. Happy golf.
Eric, Hannah, I have a question that the fans are just dying to know, which means I'm dying to know. When the Firmament, is coming out soon, compare it to, say, Abduction, which I think you both worked on. What would you say was the biggest, like, lessons having finished Abduction and then Myst, so that when you, I think Myst happened halfway through Firmament, that you were approaching Firmament, like, for you two, what was the most important thing when making Firmament that was, potentially different or new?
Wow. I feel like we learned so many lessons on Abduction. We had never used Unreal before prior to that, so we were kind of learning it as we go, and I having played it recently for a live stream we did, like, I love that project. Of course, whenever I play our previous games, all I can see is, like, the things I wish I could go back and fix, but I will say we learned so much in that project, and I don't even feel bad, because some of those lessons are hard learned, but we were able to approach Myst with all of those lessons under our belt, and we deployed some new systems that allowed us to do things like have the game go onto both Quest headsets and high-end consoles. Yeah, so I think of it, I don't know if you feel the same, Hannah, but I feel from a technological standpoint, we leveled up big time between those two projects.
Definitely, yeah. We learned so many, like, engine usage lessons between the projects.
And I'm guessing that now you guys do kind of have a tech stack that lets you share, like, if you develop something for one, you get to reuse it in the next game, right?
Yes.
That's exactly right, yeah. Yep.
That's been one of the... Oh, go ahead.
Go for it, Hannah. No, go for it.
I was just going to say, we have an optimization suite that lets us kind of, like, downgrade and upgrade, I suppose, things for specific platforms. So that's how we're able to go from Quest or, other low-end mobile hardware all the way up to Xbox Series and PC with ray tracing enabled platforms. So that's super, super handy.
Yeah. I have to say, that's been one of the nicest things about this, and that every time we come up with a new course, there's always some new thing. And, like, in this one, the switches that we added in, it's sort of like, oh, we can use that all over the place. The only thing that we also, that once you have it, you kind of have to have some self-control not to necessarily try to just put it on everything, because you can easily go out of scope or just like completely like invent a whole new game. That we want to do some of that, but we just can't make it something that every single time we've got to invent 5 or 6 other, other formats to it. But it's also been a bit of a challenge too, just because it is one game that's constantly getting updated. Is that if we add something new, a lot of times you've got to go back and tweak old courses to, to still kind of follow the same idea. I kind of miss that, like, oh, ship it, and then it exists in its own little bubble, and you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
We have to be very considerate about that. Yeah.
Do you guys find that you get bug reports and things on older courses that you find yourself having to go back in and adjust fairly regularly, or do you feel like once something ships, you kind of leave its warts be?
We're a little of both. We're definitely going to be going back at some point. I don't know if we've officially announced this yet, but we've definitely hinted at that we will be going back and at least visually improving some of the original courses, because we've just gotten so many more tools and so much just without changing the gameplay. We don't want to do that. But there's definitely some upgrades like that just in our lighting system and all of the shaders that Craig, our lead tech artist, has created. A lot of this stuff would just really it would really sort of spruce up some of the original courses. So we're definitely going to be doing that. We try not to break the other stuff, but there's also, because this is a game that we want to keep working on for quite a while. There's also some that we do feel like we're going to need to go back and rework a couple of things, just because this started as a solo project, and a lot of the code that I wrote and the systems that I put in place were fine or for a solo person, but as a once you've actually got a team working on stuff, it's spaghetti. It's just not maintainable, and so there are a few things that we kind of need to rip out and replace and upgrade, which, there's definitely some reworking that needs to happen, but hopefully people won't notice any of that stuff. It's just our under the hood tech stack. Oh, there is another question for
fix it in post.
There is another question on the live stream for Hannah and Eric. Which, for people who haven't played Myst before, which version would you recommend? Pancake just like even not like real Myst versus the new one, but just like Pancake or VR. Oh. Wow.
I feel like that completely depends on whether you've been in VR or not before, and if you feel ill playing in VR or not. I would definitely not recommend the VR version to someone who gets ill in VR.
Yeah.
But from what I have heard from fans and others, is that seeing Myst in VR for the first time is pretty incredible. I would also argue like the PC VR version really makes everything shine a bunch.
Yeah.
Eric, what do you think?
I would. I mean, my instinct is to say the 2D PC version, just because you can crank all the visuals, and I always hate to see stuff dialed down for performance, but you lose out on that immersion and that sense of place. So I guess my answer is the PC version for sure, only because of the fidelity there, but VR 2D should both be good experiences. So kind of whatever you're into more.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed, like through the playtesting, is there any... I know that the puzzles are all the same, but have you noticed that any difference in playtesters, or like is there a certain puzzle that they get stuck on? Or I guess just as we've been flying around in VR, one of the things that I noticed is that I have a much better sense of like just where things are at, that you can't possibly replicate that in a regular 2D version. I know that's not... Yeah. None of the puzzles are built as closely on that, but it does feel like I have a stronger sense of place in VR. Does that have an impact on gameplay at all?
It does. We've noticed it, especially if you're familiar with Channelwood, which is the treehousey sort of area. In the original game, the walkways in Channelwood were very much like a maze. It was very hard to navigate. You couldn't really get a sense of like which. You really had to explore, whereas in VR, at a glance, you can look over and see, I see how those bridges all connect. I know exactly where I need to go. And not that you still can't get lost. We tried to obscure sightlines and all that to make it a little bit more challenging, but it's definitely harder in slideshow mode to navigate than obviously in a 3D environment.
Yeah.
Trying to think
And
of
I'd
other,
also say, like,
other,
for this newest version of Myst, we adjusted puzzles in VR for accessibility reasons. So in Stone Ship, the original chest and key puzzle had the key like right on the floor of the walkway you're on, which would have meant like putting your fist into the floor pretty much, which not everybody can do, and even if you're seated you can't really do that comfortably. So we did have to change puzzles like that for VR specifically, otherwise it would have been extra difficult for many people.
Does that change just end up in the PC version as well, or like the Pancake version as well?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like you're necessarily doing different puzzles or changing the solutions. It's just that you
no, precisely.
might have to go away from the original.
We did discuss what it would mean to make different puzzles for the 2D and VR versions, but we tried to come up with solutions that, like Rand especially, was satisfied with existing in both versions. So.
Yeah, you just kind of have to. Ooh, I think it's I think Eric, it's your turn.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Oh, this whole
Absolute comeback.
This hole's
It's
hard.
funny. I remember this one.
Oh,
wow.
I had it.
I think this was one of the ones that I remember your first reaction, just because it's sort of like it really kind of gets the puzzle from the original game. Henny did a great job adapting that idea into this puzzle. It's funny. I think that I remember you going through the, oh wow, I love this one, to, oh my god, I hate this one, just as you try to get that. Oh.
And it's
Yeah,
funny.
there's
This
definitely
room,
something
we
Oof. Oh,
spent
go for it.
a bit of time resizing and making it feel right, because I mean, you guys know the original room is like a tiny sort of cockpit,
Yeah.
as it were, whereas this has to be a whole space. And at one point, this sort of control panel was over it, and you had to putt underneath it, which felt a bit more sort of obscured to see, but it was a good excuse to put in some working traffic cones.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sure the fans love that.
Oh, I haven't even. I found the ball right under the cone. I haven't even found them all, but I guess. Oh, I'm playing on a different profile. I probably switched it around for testing purposes.
Oh, I haven't found that one either, actually. Ooh.
Just answering another question from the live stream here, asking about like an 18+ players only mode if you don't want to match with younger folks. Yeah, we're adding we're definitely going to be adding some more matchmaking options. What I would say is that right now, the Discord is hands down the best way to find matches with specific groups of people. There's even a lot of other groups with specific interests that have sort of formed around that. So I would definitely recommend trying to get into some of the group games on Discord. They're happening very regularly. And it just gives a little bit more control as opposed to picking on some things, but we're also very cautious not to, how do I put this? We don't want to break what works, and I do think one of the things that works very well with this game is a bit more limited matchmaking, just in the sense that it's more about trying to get friends in here with you, or trying to sort of like build a group around it. We're always sort of like thinking around stuff and wanting to sort of like play with new things, but it's very, very tough, especially with just the platforms where they're at, to sort of like to try to add some intelligent filtering and not just turn it into a free-for-all, but also not make it difficult. So that's one of the inherent challenges of multiplayer. But yeah, check out the Discord, because that's usually one of the best ways to find a good group of
do you get a lot of players requesting like random matches with strangers? Is that a common request, or do you find that most people are just looking to play with people they already know?
I think that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have other friends in VR, or that it's just a major pain to necessarily get them together at the same time. So it does seem to help having, that it's just a room code that you could just say, hey, let's meet up in, room mystical at 7 p.m. It's really easy to just sort of tell somebody that. But yeah, there's a decent number of people who have kind of built communities and gotten to know people, especially through the Discord. So we're cautious about turning it into like a completely like opening it up, because I think there's just inherently issues with doing that.
Right.
So, and actually, have you guys, because it would have been, were you at Cyan for like the online? Were you there in those days, or was that a different time?
I was, yeah. That was I started in 2000, and that was the project that I was hired to start on. So that was it's like you're talking about the online moderation issues, and that's the conversations that we would have about how to handle griefing and abusive players, and equitable ways to deal with all that. It's a rat's nest of issues.
Yeah, and as soon as you don't want to sort of ruin the experience. You want to protect people from bad actors, but at the same time, you also don't want to sort of like, you don't want to just sort of like cripple what you can do in it and the being able to hop in.
Right.
So yeah, so there's definitely some things coming, but we're trying to be very, very thoughtful on that, and not just not add anything without some pretty extensive thought and testing. Oh, that must have gone off the toe. Oh, there's another question on the chat here. Yeah, there's some of those levers and stuff that don't actually do anything. Are there deeper puzzles in the course other than finding lost balls? So yeah, the not all, but most of the interactable items factor into the fox hunt. And if you haven't done one of those, that's how you get the special putters.